Only about 1 in 4 realtors is using YouTube at all, according to NAR's latest technology survey, which means the agents who do create video content have a massive edge. In this training, Kyle is going to show you exactly how he turns a simple outline into a 1,500-word blog post, which then becomes a polished video script that he uses with this teleprompter, then records it into a video and posts it on YouTube all within 1 hour.
I'm going to talk through like the exact process of like how I take my videos, script them, and then go and start to record. So let me share my screen. All right. So let's take, for example, my Notion board, right? This is just a spreadsheet, fancy spreadsheet, right? I'm going to go to my blog process because I start with a blog before YouTube. All right. So I've already got upcoming. Here's all the different posts that like I still need to make these. These are just keywords and titles, right? So eXp Realty Canada is my keyword. 7 things you need to know about eXp Realty in Canada is the title, right? If that were my next upcoming post that I'm going to start and I'm going to make, I'll show you how I would do that. So you have 2 options. You could either, if you're just more of the outline style, is create a little notepad and what are the 7 things? Write it out, the 7 headlines. And then you can literally go to town, sticking to those 7 headlines and being off the cuff. At least you have some direction because, you've thought out what those things are. Think in your mind, like, okay, if it's 7 topics, I want to kind of stick to about a minute to maybe a minute and a half for each one, because granted, when you start talking, it'll always go a little longer. So 7 topics, 7 minutes, that'll end up being when you add on a little intro at the beginning of your YouTube video and an outro at the end. And I'm not talking about like a video bumper that's just like graphical. I'm talking about, you're going to say, by the way, I'm Kyle Handy. And you talk a little bit about you always had that little spiel in the beginning. We'll talk about how you script that out, but you got to account for a little bit of that, a minute before, minute after, and then all of your points. So 7 goes by really quickly. That's why I try to stick to 3 or 5 if I can, but some of the things, they just need that many things. But because with YouTube, you want to stick to like 12 to 15 minutes, ideally on your video length. But all right, so let's go ahead. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create this, not the whole way, but I'm going to show you how I would create this in the way that I do it. A lot of people ask, how do you write your own video or your own blog post? Do you write your own scripts for your videos? And yes, for a little while, I do have some that I was actually outsourcing, like writing. I would have a blog, like a ghostwriter write the stuff for me. But I've just had issues where I'm not happy with the quality. I end up having to go, and unless I'm going to literally have a real estate agent write blog posts for me, I just don't think that they come out very good. And so the same thing for you and your YouTube channels. I think long term, or at least short term, it's better for you to do the process. And then in long term, if you find somebody who's good enough that knows the city, that knows how to write or speak well and can write a script or a blog post, then maybe you can look into that. Even for me at this point, I can write a blog in maybe about 40 minutes to an hour for 1,500 words. And so that's what I try and stick around, 1,500 to 2,000 words. And so like where I'll start, I do use a little helper, which Jasper is my little AI buddy that helps me write my blog posts. I think I've talked about Jasper before, but I basically open up Jasper. I open up Market Muse. Market Muse is expensive. Another expensive tool. I think it's like $179 a month. So it's not super cheap. There is a cheaper option. If you want to do the same workflow, you could use something called SEO Surfer or Surfer SEO. There you go. Yeah, Surfer SEO. I think this one's $100 a month, maybe. They got free trials, so you can like try them out. They got a basic. Yes, actually, you can start at $49 a month. But what they do, like Market Muse, for instance, what I typically will do there. Now, for EXP content, it's a little different because there's not a lot of good EXP content. Like if I do this eXp Realty Canada, there's not a lot of blog posts. And especially if I was going to do eXp Realty Mentor Program, there's not going to be a lot of blog posts that people have created. That's also why YouTube videos do well, blog posts do well, is, when I create them, because not a lot of people have created good things like that. But like for like real estate listing checklist, let me do that one because I want to go after one that maybe is a little bit more like mainstream, like something that you guys definitely will want to consider doing, because even though there might already be competition, it is still good to get out there and go after topics that are more in search versus something that may be more obscure. I know a lot of people are searching for eXp Realty Canada, but it's just that there's not a lot of blog posts for me to look at that will help me with my script right away. So what I'll do, I'll show you both, but real estate listing checklist, let me start there. So I come up here And what you can do, listing checklist this is with Market Muse, but you can also do this just by yourself. And again, I'm showing you some tools, but I want you to just get the general concepts of some of the stuff that I'm going to be showing you. So let's say this was going to be the new video that I create, the new blog post that I make. You can also just search that on Google, right? And so you're going to get all sorts of things in here. And let me go ahead and click on one. Here's one from Building Better Agents. It's I think is the number 1 or the number 2. I've got a little extension in Google Chrome called, I think it's called SEO Meta, SEO Meta. It's a Google Chrome extension. Yeah, it looks like that, SEO Meta in one click. The only reason I do that is it makes it a lot faster to just click on this and click on headers. And then literally I can see like what the structure of their blog post is, right? So I'll look at this. I'll even come in here. I'll usually just copy a bunch of these over. And I'm going to come over to open up my Jasper, add a new document. Let's go ahead and say new, start from scratch. I'm not even going to use all of these, right? But I just want to put them in one page to where then I can look at it all and say, what do I want to incorporate into my blog post, into my video, right? So I'll take that one and then I'll go back to Google. Let me look at another one. Maybe I'll grab the second highest one here. Again, SEO Meta. Headers, I'll come up here. Okay, bottom line, I probably don't need that. I'm mainly looking at H2s. H3s are even like subheadings. So I'm really just looking at that. Come down here, paste this stuff in here, right? And H3s, take all that kind of stuff out. Right, H6s, H4s, H4, related articles, H3, H6, H6. All right, so basically what I'm going to do is now at this point come up with, how I want to come up with my article. So new listing checklist for real estate agents. I might at this point say like, all right, what do I want? Your new listing checklist. That's not relevant. That's just reiterating the title. Part 2, marketing. Okay, so marketing might be good. So they're talking about marketing. So like a marketing checklist, pre-listing checklist, stage 1. I don't need their stages in there. Presenting it. So that's probably presenting to a seller, delivering it, producing a comparative market analysis to determine the price. Okay, signing the listing agreement. Stage 2, active listing checklist. So let's see, implement your marketing strategy. I'm taking out just these are all H3s now. H2, stage 3, closing. So they've broken it down. One of them broke it down into stages and another one. So what I'm going to look for here is, so we got marketing, we got like presenting a pre-listing, delivering it, active listing checklist. I can take that off. And so I'll keep closing on here. All right. And so now though, I've got like a basic outline of something that I like. I still don't really like all of that the way that it is. And I want to incorporate some other stuff into it, but you got pre-listing, active, and then closing. So that's these ones, pre-listing. I don't know where I put active at. I think I deleted that on accident. So active checklist. All right. So presenting, that's part of the pre-listing. Delivering it, that's also part of pre-listing. So basically I can see which direction now that I want to take my blog post. So from that, sometimes I'll just start down here and I'll say, these are the 5 things that I want to talk about. Marketing, new listing checklists for real estate agents. So marketing, I will say comparative market and market. Let's see that. Let's see, we got listing agreement. I've already got implement. So marketing strategy, implementing your marketing strategy. I don't really need a whole nother one for that. I'll put closing. I know I'll need to talk about that. And then let me find one more thing that I would probably want to do. Would probably be something about like the listing presentation or something along those lines. All right. So now I have those ideas. I can get rid of those, right? And I've got my main 5 points that I want to do. And then what's really cool about Jasper is that it's going to help you. Let me duplicate this out to where, like, for an introduction, let's see, documents, templates, blog post intro paragraph. So what's my title of my blog post going to be? Let me go grab it. All right. X things your real estate listing checklist needs. Template audience is going to be real estate agents. You can put whatever tone of voice you want with this. And this is where it's going to help speed up. You don't have to use a tool like this, but for me, I just like this kind of stuff. Plus it helps me. I'm not like super creative when it comes to intros and stuff. And so sometimes it'll give you like some stuff that you either will completely just use, or you might get an idea from it and create your own thing. But I'll read through it. Status quo real estate checklist can be pretty mundane, huh? If you're looking to shake things up a bit and create some more excitement for your next listing, then you'll love today's blog post. We've got a fun and totally customizable checklist for you to use as you prep for your next big sale. Keep reading to learn more. Or whether you're a rookie real estate agent or a seasoned pro, it's always important to have a checklist of items to go over when putting together a property listing. That way you can make sure you haven't missed anything and your listing will be as complete and accurate as possible. And this blog post will give you a template of the most important things to include on your real estate listing checklist. Keep reading for more. So obviously that's pretty awesome, right? That's copyright free. They didn't copy that off of somebody's page. It's like AI that goes through, they know how to craft an intro. So they say what you should do as far as like the format, keep it to 3 sentences, have a next step, create some excitement, some interest in that first sentence. So literally from there, let's just say I wanted to use this second one, copy it, throw that into there, format it a little bit differently, keep reading for more. And then here we go. I'll throw these all as H2s. And so now I'm on my way.
Can I outline an unscripted video using YouTube keywords and a Google checklist?
Reason why I even go through this process, even if you aren't going to script out your whole video, if you're not going to write a blog post, right? It's important to kind of at least do even this for the outline. You might not need to use Jarvis to come up with an intro and that type of thing. But what you do want to do is use it so that way you can be thorough about the topic that you're going to cover. A lot of times you'd be so surprised. I think that I know what I want to say for something, but then I start doing research and I start looking like, what are the actual people that are ranking in the top 10 of Google? What are they talking about? Because there's a lot of times that like I thought I was going to say everything that I needed to say, but then I'm like, oh, but I wasn't even going to talk about that. And it's so important that you don't leave that out, because yes, we can always create more videos like down the road, but ideally you want to try and be as thorough in that video while you do it. So you don't have to go recreate a new video because you forgot to say something. Does that make sense? That's why I'm saying like, it's not like I'm not even doing it to like copy people. I just want to make sure that I'm thorough, that there's not like blind spots that I've got, that because we think one way, but a lot of people, they need to understand things different ways. And you want to figure out, obviously, if that blog post is doing well, or if this YouTube video is doing well, it's because they've nailed it. Like they've at least thought of a lot of things that most people are thinking through or need to know about. So that's kind of why I take a couple different perspectives. Now I'm doing this really fast just for the sake of time. I just grabbed stuff. Obviously, you'll want to take a little bit more time when you're doing this. Now, the one thing too that I was going to say, because I remember I didn't finish this part of it, with Market Muse, what I like to do. So for instance, on this real estate listing checklist, what I did, if you remember, I just basically went to Google and I searched and I just grabbed a couple of the top ones or whatever. And then I checked out what their meta info was. Market Muse is cool because basically what it does is it gives each of these articles, these are all the top articles on Google. It gives them a content relevance score. And so you can see which of these blogs have basically tried to create their content in a way is Google relevant, right? So like for instance, fitsmallbusiness.com. This one here is probably a really good, I think I clicked on that one. So this is where they have formatted theirs in a way that Google likes, basically. That's what Market Muse is showing them. This number is a score as far as like how well Google is going to favor that article. So what's cool is typically what ends up happening is like you can have not very good domain authority, like on a blog where maybe your website's just getting started. But if you have a really good relevant article that has a good score here, it can rank high, and vice versa. If it's like Forbes.com and they have really good domain authority, but maybe they don't write a very good article, they could still be number one just because they have such good domain authority. So that's why I like to look at ones that have really good articles that they're written for Google and try to mirror mine, or at least make sure I haven't missed any things that they've put out. Because typically like these sites that are ranking for that, like this fitsmallbusiness.com, real estate is not like their niche. They're a small business website, but if they're ranking for real estate stuff, that means that that article was pretty relevant, right? So I do look at that some of the times just to make sure that I'm incorporating that. This Etsy one, that's weird. I don't know why that would be there. I don't even think that's probably most Etsy stuff. Yeah, it's not a blog post. So that's just, sometimes you'll get like really irrelevant stuff, but that's kind of how you can use that. And so now from here, I'll show, I'm not going to go through the whole thing on here, but I'll show like where I would go from here if I was going to keep writing out the script. I'm not going to write the whole thing out because for some of you, you may say, oh, I just want this. This is all that I need to get to. And then once I know I need to talk about the comparative market analysis, I'll just get on camera and I'll talk about the comparative market analysis for 2 minutes. Then I'll move on to listing presentation for 2 minutes. So you might just need to get to this point, but you need to, I would say at the minimum, outline each of your videos before you start making them, right? But now let's go ahead and say that I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to say the first thing you need to know when creating, or the first thing you need to add to your real estate listing checklist is incorporating a thorough comparative market analysis, something like that, right? And then what's cool about Jarvis is you can say Command G, and it'll take what you just wrote and it'll give you some additional context, right? So I like to write a little bit so that way it knows what direction I'm going. And then I have Jarvis flesh out a little bit more of the details, right? So this analysis will help give potential buyers, which obviously, and some of the times it's not accurate. So you still need to read through it because this is obviously not accurate. This analysis will give potential buyers an idea of how much the property is worth. So we're going to obviously switch that out because we're talking about sellers, an idea of how much the property is worth and whether it's a good investment. That doesn't make sense, right? And what to list the property at to sell it for maximum value, right? Or something like that. And then include photos. So now it's talking about like subheadings, like what we're going to have to do. And that's something too, where sometimes as I'm writing the blog post, the Jarvis, which is actually scouring the internet for like relevant things, it might propose things that I didn't even think about even while I did my outline. So sometimes it may not be relevant under comparative market analysis, but I'll think, oh, including photos, maybe I didn't think about that. So where does that need to go? Maybe that's going to come into the marketing aspect. So I'll just copy or I'll cut that out. I'll paste that in here, including photos. So once I get down here, I've already got a couple things I can talk about for marketing. Same thing for property description. That's probably going to be down here in marketing. And so you can see literally that's how I go through it's a weird process. This maybe is not for everybody as far as like how you might want to write. I'm like, maybe it's like a weird way that my brain works that I just like this idea. I don't write just like straight through stuff, but at the same point, I don't usually miss a whole lot. So I have good coverage around the topic, which I think is the most important thing. But yeah, so then now it's a listing presentation. I would have obviously fleshed out a little bit more of comparative market analysis, but now let's say that I want to move on to listing presentation and I just keep going. And this is only 163 words, but eventually I want to get to about 1,500 words, right? So now once I have that whole thing, what I do is I'll give you a full script. So docs right here. All right. So Brandon, I know you're about to make this video. I actually just recorded this one today. All right. 7 reasons why agents are leaving eXp Realty, right? So is I add a hook, an intro, and then I actually put my blog post, my story, and my content below it, right? And then I have a conclusion and then my offer. That's in every single one of my blog posts or every single one of my YouTube videos. So like my YouTube video incorporates the blog post plus some, right? So my hook, it's always the same thing. So I'll give you an example. Did you know that the phrase "why I left eXp Realty" gets searched over 2,000 times every month? This tells me that agents are looking for reasons why agents leave eXp so that they can avoid making the same mistakes. As someone who's been on the inside of eXp Realty for nearly 5 years now, I see agents leave the company every day. I've also spoken to many of them to find out why. In this video, I'll outline 7 reasons why agents leave eXp Realty so that you can decide if it's the right fit for you before making the switch. So that's my hook. You want to like catch their attention. So I gave a statistics are good to catch people's attention up front. I give my credibility. So like, why am I credible to speak about this? And then I tell them in the video what they're going to be able to determine from the video. And that's it. So like, I always want those 3 things in each one of my hooks to begin with. And then my intro is copy paste. This is going to be something you're going to create one time. And then you're going to copy paste this into your script every single time. If you're doing a script, like at this point, I don't even need this to be in my script. I can literally get to this part on the prompter and I just know it, right? What's going on, everyone? I'm Kyle Handy, a realtor and team leader here in San Antonio, Texas. I help teach other realtors, team leaders, and brokers how to grow and scale their real estate business through digital marketing, content creation, social media, as well as tried and true methods. And if you want proven strategies that you can use to get more leads, closings, and scale your team, you'll love this video. Keep watching. And then I say, before I get started, if you could do me a huge favor and hit the like button, I greatly appreciate it. Yada, yada, right? The whole thing. Okay, now let's get started. And that's when I finally jump into the blog post, right? And so in this case, I had already written a blog post about this. I've got my 7 bullet points. Real estate agents leave the business. Wrong expectations were set about eXp Realty. An agent thinks that they can make more money elsewhere. An agent gets overwhelmed. An agent decides to join a real estate team. An agent can't adjust to a cloud brokerage. An agent doesn't plug into eXp Realty. An agent wants a physical office. An agent joins for the wrong reason. So there we go. And then I've got my conclusion. The other cool thing that you can do with this, what I always like to do is I like to think about my cards that I'm going to link to while I'm writing this thing. So like in my actual blog post, a lot of times I'm hyperlinking like from blog post to blog post. So I know where I have opportunities to actually say that I've got another video about something. So what I mean by that is like kylehandy.com, leaving eXp Realty. Let me just see if that comes up. No, I don't know if I actually, you know what? I haven't published that blog post yet. So that's the thing is I've not published that blog post. I'm going to publish the blog post when I put my YouTube video. So it's not on my blog yet, but I know which articles I've hyperlinked. So like, for instance, when I was talking about joining a team, I had hyperlinked something about a team. So then all I need to do here, since basically that's what cards are for YouTube videos, is just links between your content, is I just know that I'm going to switch it out. Instead of hyperlinking, I'm just going to make a verbal, hey, check out my video on the pros and cons of joining a real estate team. I'll link it above. So then that's my first card. You can do up to 5 cards per video. So I think this one I only did 2 where I talked about it. So here I was talking about joining for the wrong reason, talk about a lot of people get caught up in revenue share. And so I said, hey, if you want more information about eXp Realty revenue share, I'll link it here, right? And then I come up with a conclusion. In this case, I just wrap up the whole art, like the whole video. So eXp, and so a lot of times this conclusion and this hook may be different than what my actual intro and conclusion is in my blog post. Sometimes it's the same. It just depends. But like on this one, I think this is the exact same as what it is on my blog post. eXp Realty has the best agent retention I've ever seen in a real estate brokerage. In fact, I've been with the company for nearly 5 years now, had over 700 agents come through my personal revenue share group, and only 200 have left. That's less than 30% turnover over 5 years. And over 90% of the agents who did leave never sold a home. Therefore, productive agents love and stay at eXp Realty. So I'm trying to like talk about obviously the topic of the video, but spin it in a positive light. So that's how I do it there. And then I always have my offer. And again, this is just cut and paste. The only thing that I change is at the very end where I talk about, and now I want to turn it over to you. And I ask like the audience a question to put in the comments, right? But everything else, is if you like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit that thumbs up button. By the way, if you're interested in partnering with me at eXp Realty, head over to my partner page, check out the exclusive benefits that you receive. You can blah, 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 blah. So the way to think of the offer, like for me, I like to have 2 calls to actions in every single one of my videos. So I always put my first call to action is a soft call to action. I was talking about this on my live stream earlier with Brandon Melvin. And I basically say, I like to always have a soft call to action, which is something where it's not partnering with me. That's like the main thing. I love people to do that, but I got to expect that if somebody's just seeing my video for the very first time, the odds that they're going to take that action right away is very low. And so I do try and get them on my email list, and I want to have some kind of a lead magnet for that. So having that set up to where like in my intro, I say, finally, if you'd like my real estate business plan template to track your sales, commissions, profit and loss, net worth, and budget, head over to kylehandy.com/business plan to download it today. Okay, now let's get started. So that's my soft one. I put that early on so I can get people in my email list because more people are inclined to do that. Plus there's a freebie in it for them. So think about that for your channel and how you can incorporate a lead magnet or a freebie, something that you've created, a value that you can give in exchange for an email address. So I've got that. And then obviously my main call to action comes at the end after I built some value with that video. And I say, that's when I talk about head over to my partner page and check out the benefits that you receive. And so that is the same every single time. So really if you're not coming up with the script, all you need to do is figure out your hook, write your intro, and chances are you probably want to copy paste that each time. You don't need to change the intro. I think if anything, I like having the same intro. It builds just like that cadence. People know a little about what to expect is coming. It keeps that consistent theme. Same thing. At the end, I always like to close with something that's the same. Until my next video, be well and get out there and sell some homes, right? It's not like my catchphrase per se, but I mean, it's something that I end all of my videos with to keep that consistency going. So what's cool about when you do script it out. And I use scripting lightly because, again, you don't need to have to script out every word per se, but I would script out your video in the sense of think all these things through. Because if you don't think all of this stuff through, like strategically, I can guarantee you're not going to say it all. Like, you're not going to get everything out there that you want to get out in a video, because there's probably a lot of the stuff that you'd want to do. But if you're just making a video without doing this, it's not going to happen. So that's where just having it scripted out, I think parts of your video really important. Maybe some point, like at this point, I probably don't even need the script to do the offer, because I've said the same thing probably 20, 30, 40 times. So you start to understand it. But everything else, it's important to script out. All right. That being said, that was a lot of kind of info on all of this. I'm going to take some questions. Is everybody's head spinning? I know I talk really quick.
Which video editor do you use?
Editing, I use Final Cut Pro. Currently now, at this point, I just send all of my videos off to a video editor, and I found him on Upwork. He charges about $100 per video that I send over to him. It's just worth it for like time-wise for me to be able to do that, because especially for like batching, like today, I've got all of these scripts already like ready, right? So like all these scripts are done. And so today I grabbed this one and I did this one and I did this one. Like today, I recorded 3 videos right before this call, literally like in an hour and a half. All 3 of these ones, 7 reasons agents are leaving. What does a realtor do in 2022? This is how long it takes to get a real estate license. And then now I just send those off to my video editor, and like he sends them back and they're all ready to go for next week. In the past, if I would have recorded those and then had to edit them, editing is going to take me probably 2, 3, 4 hours sometimes per video. And it's not even about that. I have the time. I could probably spend 10 hours to edit 3 videos. But what I found was like, even just the thought of, now I got to go edit for the next 4 hours, it would make me not even want to record videos. And I was like, I'm at the point where it's, man, not that I have more money than time, but it's like, I would prefer to have more time, right? So I want to get my time back. So $100 to me to send to pay somebody is worth it. So now that's what I do. But if you wanted to edit them yourself, I mean, I still got Final Cut Pro. Most of what you're going to do is learn how to cut your edits. So what I mean by that is like all your screw ups, your ums, because since I'm recording on camera, if I screw up, I'll just stop, go back to like where I last want to start again and start over. And then I just cut it and go from there. So for instance, this is the last thing I edited. It was just a testimonial. So I usually don't edit as much anymore unless it's like a quick and easy video. But for that, what I mean by cutting is you'll get familiar with using a blade tool and just like cutting, deleting that out and going from there, right? So that's the majority. Like when we think of like video editing, we think that it's like maybe so difficult or that it's going to be tough. That's like probably 60 to 70% of maybe even 80% of like the video editing process, right? Is just like cutting and getting it the way that you need it to be. And honestly, cutting in the beginning is even harder because usually when you're recording, you're not as used to speaking on camera. You'll have more mistakes. Now, especially even if you use a teleprompter or whatever, you're going to still have mistakes. So I can roll through a video with making very few mistakes, even now reading it through the teleprompter. And so there's like less cuts and edits that I've got to make. But in the beginning, especially if you want your video to be really good and not have that kind of live feel, which a live feel is fine too. It depends on what style that you're going for. And if you want it to be more just off the cuff live and less edited, go for it. That's your style. But if you want it to be completely clean, where it seems like it's smooth and it's going through, then you're going to have a lot of cuts typically in the beginning. So feel bad that you've got to cut the video, embrace it and just, okay, I'm going to cut it and it's going to be exactly what I want to say. But then once you do that, obviously learning how to put in some overlays. If you want to put on something on the lower third, as far as like if you have 5 bullet points and every time you bring up a bullet point, you want to bring up something on the bottom, you can do that. And then like when you're in your editing software on Final Cut, you can add those on top and do it. So needless to say, I didn't even mean to get all the way into video editing. I'm sorry. Like that's actually when we meet next week, I'll do a little bit more video editing. But if you want to learn it, I'm using Final Cut Pro. I'll go into a little bit more detail next week of showing you exactly how I would do it, more than just basically doing like crops. I'll show you how you can put a couple elements on top. Maybe if you wanted to add like a little video bumper to the beginning, some stuff like that. I also will do a lot of times, especially if it's like a EXP video where I'm talking about KV core and I want to add some B-roll to it, I'll show you how I will add me kind of scrolling through my KV core. Like I'll do a screen grab, like a video screen grab where I'm like scrolling through my thing. I record the video from my screen and then I'll add it on top of the main talking head portion so you can have more context of the video.
Should I reply to YouTube comments right away or just check them weekly with reminders? And how will I get notifications?
If you go to your YouTube studio and you go to comments, I'm just looking for ones like that I haven't responded to. So there's a little filter there that just says I haven't responded. And I'm just going through all of these. So like literally you can see here, most of them I've responded to. I'm going in and then I'll have to do that like usually once a week. I upload 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so literally I'd say most of the time when I do my once a week, it's like on Tuesday or something like that. But it's not always the same day. Usually it's just if I haven't done it this week, then I'll get to it on Wednesday, or I might get to it on Monday. I might get to it on Friday, but I just make sure I don't go more than about a week leaving all my comments. If you're doing it by yourself, you don't have an assistant or somebody like that, then yeah, ideal. If you can get in the habit of doing it more frequently than once a week, especially if you know that you upload a certain day. If I upload every Monday, and that's usually when the most traffic on your video is going to be, then I would make sure probably by Tuesday I'm going through answering everything. And then I might just check it again on Friday. And then I just will check it again next Tuesday. It's not like social media where like literally, because your post is probably dead on Facebook in 2 days. So if you're not responding to stuff right away, then you're missing out. Whereas on YouTube, hopefully that video is going to last a long time. So as long as people see that you're responding, I think that goes a long way in most people's mind, that they're like, oh my gosh, they're still responding to every comment. But that's, I think, the main objective there for YouTube.
Will you take a picture of your setup?
Yeah, I'll do one in front and one behind. So here's front, and then I'll put I even can throw on my prompter. I'll show you what that looks like with it there. This is so important, guys. I'll tell you that too. Having a setup that's always there is really important. So hold on. All right, so there we go. Yeah, so behind, you can see there that, so I use a camera, it's not turned on in that first picture there, but up top where you can see that monitor, that's an external monitor, so I can see like what I'm recording. And now on the back of this setup, just give you an idea. So like obviously this is the external camera, right here. This is the external monitor. The way it works is like from my camera, I use a Sony a7 IV. I have that HDMI cord that goes up there. So from this, that goes up to there. What you're not seeing right here, and it depends, I don't need it because my camera has a USB output that I can do as like a webcam. So this part comes straight into my computer. But a lot of cameras like that, this is a newer camera, so it does that. But a lot of times some of the older cameras won't have that. So you're going to need a cam link, which is like a video input to your computer kind of device. And what you would need to do in that case is then, so if this is your HDMI out and it's going to this monitor, that's going to the HDMI in of the monitor will typically also have an HDMI out. Then you'll run that HDMI out to your cam link to your computer. So that might be the only thing different that you've got to do. The other thing that I recommend is like when I plug it in with this cord for my webcam, it charges my camera at the same time. If you don't have something, I would make sure either you can plug in your camera so it's always charging so you don't die in the middle of recording something. Or if your camera doesn't have something like that, you can usually buy like a dummy battery that you basically plug in the battery to the bottom of your camera, and then you plug that into an outlet, and then it keeps your camera powered up all the time, whenever you have it turned on. Now, when I record my videos, because I'm using a condenser mic, which is this guy right here, you can see it there. That's even the one that I'm using right now on Zoom. That plugs into my laptop. And so whenever I record a video, what I do is I use this voice memos app on my deal. And like you can see, here's all like the videos that I've used. It just makes like an audio file. So here's 7 reasons why agents are leaving. Here's what it sounds like. I literally will clap like 2 times because that'll sync the audio and the video, because I'm recording on my camera a video file and the audio on the camera is not very good. That's why I also use this condenser mic. And then once the audio is synced up, let's say here, there's where I'll actually.
Did you know that the phrase "why I left EXP"?
So there you go. And then you have the audio right there.
This tells me that agents are looking for reasons why agents leave EXP.
So then I take that, and once I have that file, and let me just show you here. So like on my desktop right now, these are the audio files that I created, and then these are the video files that I created. So here's that same one, right? But you can see the difference in the audio. Right. So like literally that's all I do. That's like the video file off of my camera. But then my video editor takes that and then the audio, and then he takes the audio from the voice memo, syncs them up, and then I've got good quality audio, good quality video. I've tried where I've had a shotgun mic, like a Rode nice shotgun mic on top of my camera, and it still doesn't sound as good as a condenser mic. It takes a little bit more doing because now you got two separate audio files, and typically you're not going to be able to run a condenser mic into your camera. They make some that you can, but most of the condenser mics are either going to be USB where you plug them into like your computer, or they're going to be like where you need like an actual like audio processing device that saves it to like an SD card. So going into the computer is probably the easiest way. I've got a couple different setups that people can buy for different budgets. I actually like, what I really like is the Sony ZV-E10 right now. That's a crop sensor camera. The lens that I recommend with that is a 16 millimeter f1.4. Still may not be super wide because again, it's gonna be like 24 millimeters. But if you've got a pretty decent space, or if you're like recording in a living room or outdoors, certainly, you know, it's going to make sense. But at the same time too, you can also try and just optimize your room. You can put your camera up in the angle to give you the most depth of field between the room. Just be thinking about that, your setup of how you want to do that to give you that blurry background. Sony A7C, like that's going to be a full frame option, but it's going to be more expensive. And then you can use like a Tamron 1728 f2.8, or I said like the lens that I'm using is a 16 millimeter or not 20 millimeter 1.8. It's this one right here. So $898 just for the lens, and then the cameras all together. You're going to be spending $3,000 if you want the more expensive setup, right? And then I've got, these are different mics. Whenever I'm vlogging or if I'm outdoors, I am using like a Rode mic just to give me better audio than my camera mic. Indoors, I'm using, that's my Shure condenser mic. You can have a mic arm if you need, headphones if you need to hear yourself. These are the speakers I use, trying to see if anything else is important. Here's like you can use one of these soft boxes. That was like the cheap ones that I used to use. I've since upgraded and used something a little more expensive now. These ones down here are what I use for the backlighting, like my accent lights behind me. So a lot of people ask me like what I use for those color lights. That's pretty much it. A lot of this stuff. Oh, here's my external monitor that you can get. So I think everything pretty much else is there. So anyway, so that's the equipment side of it. You don't need all of this stuff that I'm talking about. You can use what you've got, make the best use of it. And if you got an iPhone, the biggest thing is have good quality audio. Think about how you can at least get a little bit better quality audio. You can even buy a cheap lavalier microphone for $20-$30 so that you can plug into your iPhone if you're using an iPhone. Just that's an important aspect. Y'all's homework is to come up with a script for one of the topics in your video or in your video list. So that is going to be your homework. All right, everyone have a great week. Talk to you later.
Now you have the full playbook for planning, scripting, and batching content that ranks, converts, and scales your business. If this walkthrough saved you time or sparked ideas, tap the like button and subscribe to the channel, and let me know which strategies you're going to use first in the comments below. If you're ready for more support, download the free YouTube checklist that we put together below and check out the partner page to see how working with us at EXP can help you accelerate your growth. Until the next video, be well and get out there to sell some more homes.